grandmother was a poet, and my father was very proud that his only girl was going to follow in his mother's footsteps. Although I'm not into poetry, but I was thinking about it. I said, hey, if I'm not good enough, I'm going to car. So let me be a little bit more practical. And I decided to go into journalism, which was something that was going to allow me to practice my writing every day. Little did I know that the profession is very well suited to my personality and what makes me tick. So that is how I got into it. Why have I stayed is because it's a profession that keeps you on your toes, that's constantly challenging you. And I don't want to sound trite. This is a profession of challenge. But this is a wonderful time to be a journalist, and it's an awful time to be a journalist. It's bad because the industry is changing and there's layoffs and we don't know where it's going, and there's a lot of uncertainty, and we're just trying to we have to improvise a lot of things in our feet. But it's also wonderful because of that, because there's a whole we are trying to find our way to the future right now. So there's a lot of room for innovation, for trying to find new ways to do things. And that really appeals to my personality and the way to me. I got into online journal. I started as a print reporter, as a traditional reporter, and but I was always into computers, and I was a little bit of a geek. And then when I came to the U.S. in 1997, was then called World Wide Web. Now we don't call it anymore, but it was exploding, and there was a lot of buzz and a lot of things going on online. And I was blessed because I was in Boston, which is a really hub of innovation, and I got exposed to technology, and I became an online journalist, and I have not looked back. I'm into technology, and I appreciate the nimbleness of the online reporter and the possibility of experimenting and innovating is easier than, say, for example, in print media, where print exclusively media, where there's a defined chain of events that need to happen, and if you alter these chain of events, say we're 10 minutes late, the deadline, then the presses start late, then the distributors get the paper late, and there's a whole. So innovation is a little bit harder to do. And you don't get to play with cool gadgets as much as the online journalists do. We get all the cool toys. So that's does that answer the question? It has not been. I would say it has not been a straightforward pattern. I have been a journalist for the most part of my life, and then I was doing my PhD. I wanted to become a college professor, but and I'm bringing this up because you asked me about what are the setbacks, challenges, and I got divorced, and I needed to find a job, and it just happened that the Herald was looking for a manager for their Spanish website, and they called me, and it came at a wonderful time in my life, and I came back into journalism, and I have not looked back. It was God's will that I would come back. And I will finish my dissertation eventually. If my advisor has something to say about that, but that's.
I'm curious, where were you in school, and did you come to this country to go to school, or were you already here?
No, I came to this country to come to school. I did my bachelor's degree in journalism in Venezuela, and the Venezuelan educational system, especially the upper level, it's a lot like in Europe, where you start your career or your profession from the first day. It's not like here where you get a general, liberal arts or general business. There, if you're going to be a dentist, you start as a dentist day one, or as a doctor day one, as accountant day one. So as a journalist, I started my journalism career from day one in college. I did college there. I came to the U.S. to do a master's degree in international affairs. That's my beat. That used to be my beat when I was a reporter in Venezuela. And my plan was to get a master's degree and work and get a job at the United Nations and change the world. my life was taking me to different places, and I think I'm happier than I would have been at the United Nations with all the bureaucracy, as much as I admire the work that they do. I think my personality, I have been blessed, and God has found a way to take me where I need to be. So I came to, here in 1997 to go to the Fletcher School, which is the oldest school of international relations in the United States. It's a wonderful school, wonderful, wonderful school. And I was blessed that that was my first experience of formally living in the U.S. I had spent a lot of time here because my father went to college in North Carolina, so we used to come a lot for the summers because he still had friends and he did some adjunct here. And my mother had gone to boarding school in England, so we spoke English already. And Fletcher School was one of the first experiences. It's a very internationally oriented school with a good transition. And then what happened is that I was married at the time, Chavez won the elections in Venezuela. And there was a lot of uncertainty, and my then husband said, well, why don't we won in 1998 and we regretted in 1998. And he said, well, why don't we look for jobs here and just stay, and 1 year or two, so we have the full experience of living in the U.S. and see what happens. And we never came back, unfortunately. It was a decision that we went, every year we kind of sit down and revise it, and every year the situation in Venezuela got worse and worse. To the point where, we never had, the conditions were not there. We each started to have a career here in the U.S. And we eventually divorced and remarried, and at this point, my life is here, and I'm a U.S. citizen, my kids are American, and my life, this is my country now. This is where I see my life unfolding. So that was also one thing that I was not expecting. I came as a student, and I've been blessed, and this country has been wonderful to me and given me opportunities. I know a lot of immigrants say that, but I cannot tell you how much it is true. Of all the things that I had that I could not have had if I had not come to this country. I think people tend to forget how we have it here. But that was one detour that life gave me that I was not expecting.
And our next question, Chelsea, you want to ask that?
Jay wanted to know if you knew anything or if you were writing about something about the principal of Killian High School in 1998. I forgot. Is he here?
Actually, it was in Miami. There was a court case in Miami. I was working under the assumption, and I guess we all were, that you were in Miami in 1998, but you weren't. But you may have covered something like this. That was a court case about students and freedom of speech. One of the things in our book that we were studying was some kids wrote some drug-type information on a banner in Alaska, and it ended up being a Supreme Court case. And the Supreme Court, of course, ruled against them. They shouldn't have free speech in that instance. But I know probably in your journalistic travels that you've come across some story about a Supreme Court case in freedom of speech. One that maybe jumps to mind that you thought was interesting? Or really anything on freedom of speech?
Well, one thing that has been doing the rounds in the newsrooms in Florida is there's a scandal with this. I'm trying to remember which university is it. Is it Florida? Which university in Florida? The one that was the university that had the scandal last year because somebody from the band was killed during a hazing.
Yeah.
A&M, Florida. Yes, I think so. FAMU.
Yep.
I think, I'm sorry, because the name escapes me. So what happened is that the paper, the student newspaper published a story saying that X individual was involved in this case, and it was not true. And after that, the administration decided to dismiss all of the staff and the managing editor of the student newspaper. And there has been a lot of debate as to, is this a good decision? Was it justified on the part of the staff, or this was a decision motivated by politics? Needless to say, I mean, this is a school that prided itself on its band, marching band, and they've won all kinds of prizes and awards, and it was a national scandal that this kid was killed in an amazing ceremony, if you can call it like that. And so there was a definite interest of the school in not bringing this up yet. On the other hand, the school has said that they have uncovered a series of irregularities in the way that the student newspaper was operating. For example, the person that wrote the story did wrongly, according to the wrong individual, was not a student, was not a member of the staff, and there were some other things going on. So even though it's even though it's a student newspaper, it's something that we have been talking about in the newsroom. Was it justified? It was actually even in Romanesco's blog.
Was it what?
Jim Romanesco blog.
Yes.
It was in his blog, and it's been making the rounds in the newsroom. And you'll find, people that say no, it's unjustified. Freedom of the press, freedom of the press, and the university has no right to dismiss the students. And you'll find some other people that say, well, I mean, the students and the advisors were violating the terms of the agreement of the paper. I suppose that truth lies somewhere in between. I mean, I find the timing of the suspension suspicious, especially after they came back to the story that's very controversial for the institution. On the other hand, it's true that they were violating the conditions of functioning of the paper, and they had staff people that should be there, and etc. So I don't know if you guys have heard about this case, but it's an interesting one if you want to hear it. And I think it cuts close to what you guys are doing. Does that figure it out?
That does, because a lot of our cases are cases just like that, you could slice it with a razor and it would go either way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where the Supreme Court has a really hard time.
Yeah, because it's never black or white. There's always going to be a justification. I mean, I think every journalist's reaction when they hear a student newspaper closing is your knee-jerk reaction is to say, oh, this is horrible, we need to stop this. But then you start hearing about these things that are happening that should not be happening, and you say, well, they shouldn't be having someone that's not a student writing the stories. They should check the source, or the student advisor should have it in a different way. So it's never black or white. I will personally always tend to side in with freedom of information, and